me wouldn't have the resources to be able to go represent children and vulnerable adults, disabled individuals in detention, that took away legal services from those who are still trying to find their parents and their children from the first Trump administration. And now what I see very clearly is they're coming to the organizations by then, I would say, just saying the most vicious of lies of who we are and what we do and what we're about. But the truth is the truth, and it's based on our actions. Not actions of this day, but actions of decades.
That's right.
And yes, we have received a letter from Senator Josh Hawley.
Boo! Shame on that.
But what I want you to know is that's not going to deter us. It's not going to intimidate us from standing with our immigrant community, by standing with our families, by demanding due process, by demanding that there be accountability for the violations of human and civil rights that have occurred in our city. But I know I'm not alone. These are all the people who are here with me, and there's so many good people in LA, and we're gonna stand together. We're going to show this country that we do believe in liberty and justice for all, and that our Constitution and our Bill of Rights are our guiding principles, and that is what has brought so many immigrants to this country, because they believe deeply in these values, and we're going to fight to make sure that those values are upheld. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Let me just say that one thing I think that is not thought about, we certainly understand it in our city. The immigrant community is vital to the economy of our city.
That's right.
There are entire sectors of our economy that will not function if the immigrant community is too afraid to go to work and too afraid to go to school. You could talk about the construction industry, and I think there's a lot of building that needs to take place here. You can talk about hospitality, and I think that we are concerned about our tourism industry. And I could go on and on about the economic impact. That is why we have the Chamber of Commerce and the Central City Association led by Nell McCosker, and Maria Salinas, the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for your work. Angelica, thank you for your work and what you are doing in the front lines. On behalf of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce, I can tell you that we are deeply, deeply disturbed by all the activity that we have seen. And Mayor, you are right. We have a local economy here that is vibrant, but it's vibrant because of all our workforce. That includes our immigrant workforce that is here. And we at the Chamber of Commerce, we understand and we know that they play a role in just about every sector that you can think of. We understand that together, that we power one of the largest economies in this country. And it is important for us to recognize that if we have employees that do not show up to work, right, that's a problem. If they do not show up to their health appointments, that's a problem. They do not show up to their school and their education, that's a problem for our broader community. We want to see this community thrive. This is the Los Angeles that we all know. And I'm so proud to stand with all the civic leaders that are here, the business leaders that are here, to say enough. We need to de-escalate this. We cannot have what happened to Senator Padilla today. That cannot be the norm. And Los Angeles will rise above this because we've done it before. And we're going to do it again, and we're going to do it with everyone in our community, including our immigrant population. I was with our chamber board this morning, affirming the work that we are doing to ensure that this community feels safe, feels supported, and that we are all working together just like we're here with the mayor and with this entire group here today. Thank you, Mayor, for having us and for lifting up how important it is to sustain an economy that works for all. Thank you.
I started off my day meeting with representatives of the business community and the labor community, which plays a vital role in our city. And there are already reports of people not showing up to work, of empty store shelves, of people feeling that they cannot leave, kids and families afraid to go to graduations. The attendance at graduations being down by 25 and 50% because parents are afraid that on one of the most important days of their lives that they cannot attend the graduation because they might be detained by ICE. This is not the America, this is not the city that we live in, and we will not accept this. We are also a city of faith, a city of many faiths, many cultures. There's not too many countries on earth that are not represented in Los Angeles. I'd like to bring up Father Brendan Bose from the Dolores Mission Church.
Thank you, Mary Bass. My name is Father Brendan Bussey. It's okay, Polish immigrants do strange things to their last names. As you said, I'm the pastor of Dolores Mission Church, and it was great to have you stand with the interfaith community. I hope you felt the interfaith community standing with you on Tuesday when we came into Grand Park to pray in peace, to pray for peace, to bring a presence of peace. And I know, as you mentioned, the children that are here and our families are feeling that this is a moment that is quite scary for many of us. But I stand here today to remind us that this is also not just a scary moment, but a sacred moment. This is a sacred moment where we as the city of Los Angeles stand up and recognize that there's two ways we can live, as if everything is sacred or as if nothing is. And we stand here today because we know that everything and everyone and every place is sacred. There are some in our government, as you know, as we have seen, that act as if nothing is sacred. Not our churches, not our schools, not our hospitals, not our shelters, not our homes, not our streets, not our parks, not every place. No place is sacred, and nobody is treated as if they were in this city by this government. And so I'm here to remind you that this is a moment where we have a choice to make. If everything is sacred, then we need to respect the dignity of all people, respect the rights of all people. We need to do everything we can to advocate and stand for that, and everybody in this room, I think, stands with us as we say that. I go to my school every day, and I hear things now that I don't ever want to hear. Children looking at me saying, "Father Brendan, I saw you on the news." That's something I never wanted to hear. But I asked one of those children, I said, "How did that make you feel?" And he said, thought for a minute, and he said, "Strong. I felt strong when I saw you up there." And that's what I want everybody to hear in the faith community, the civic community, the business community, the whole of Los Angeles. Then we stand together. Our children do not feel scared. They do not feel threatened. They do not feel worried about who's going to be home when they get back from school. They feel strong when they see us standing together. They feel brave when they see us acting in their name. They feel proud when they see people standing up for what is right. And that's what we do here today, and always, as we said in the park on Tuesday, we will continue to be brave with our love, because that's what Los Angeles is. Someone at that action was there crying in tears, asking, "Where is my family?" And as I heard them say that, I said, I don't know where they are, but I know exactly who they are. They are our brothers and sisters, and we need to start acting as if that were true. We will be brave with our love. We will be brave with our love. We will be brave with our love.
So let me just say, as I said earlier, that there's no one up here that supports vandalism, that supports violence. We have had to have a curfew in the city because we want to make sure that the downtown neighborhood and all the other neighborhoods are safe. But let me be very clear. We want peace to come to our city. The peace that we need to have happen needs to begin in Washington, and we need to stop the raids. Having the military, soldiers who are trained to fight wars on foreign soil here in our city is not going to bring peace, because first and foremost, they are not needed. Second of all, federalizing the National Guard will not bring peace to our city. That is not, all that is going to do is provoke people and create and add to the sense of fear in this city. We know how to bring about peace, and peace begins with ICE leaving Los Angeles. Thank you. Wait. Okay, we're going to take a few questions. Zach?
We're going first to Anna and then to Robert.
Mayor Bass, have you been able to get on the phone with President Trump?
No, I have made a formal request. I have talked to members that are close to the administration. We will see if my formal request is granted.
Is he denying your request?
There has just not been a response just yet.
We're going to Robert and then Josh.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
Let's talk about the curfew. Is it going to continue? How long is it going to continue? Does the zone need to be expanded after we saw last night in Korea?
Well, I don't think the zone needs to be expanded. Unfortunately, we will continue the curfew. And my hope is after continuing it a few more days, that people will get the message that we are serious. The arrest that took place last night was not for looting, was not for violence. It was for unlawful assembly and curfew violation. What I noticed when I was traveling the streets late last night is that the people that were out on the streets were young people waving flags, and they were not violent. That was not the group that has committed the vandalism.
We're going to Josh and then Lorraine.
Mayor Bass, in her remarks earlier, Christine Holmes said that you would not respond to calls from the White House. They tried to get
Like I said, I do not recognize the secretary anymore. I don't know who she is. That is a complete lie. I have spoken to Senator Padilla, and I just, want to express my concern about his health, about his safety. And, all I can say is that, I mean, in some instances, there's no words. This is a sitting U.S. senator, not somebody, and frankly, if you're going to come into town and say you have diagnosed what is happening in our city, and you don't even know who the U.S. senator is?
Mayor Bass, what is happening in the country, everybody is outraged, the majority of the Americans. Where do you think the democracy is going to? Racism? An authoritarian president? What do you think?
Let me just say that I think that unfortunately our city is being used as a test case. I feel like we are a citywide laboratory to see what happens if Washington comes in and literally usurps the authority of the governor, usurps the authority of the mayor. And so I think as part of this test case, it's a warning for other cities, but clearly other cities are very concerned, which is why you have seen protests spread. But I also know that there's a new mayor in Omaha, Nebraska. I don't know how many hours he's been mayor, and he's already experiencing raids. So I think this sense of fear and terror goes whenever you have ICE that's out there. ICE could be raiding folks right now. I was in a meeting with Angelica and some of the other immigrant rights leaders the other morning, and everybody's cell phones started going off. Why? Because they were being notified of raids that were taking place in front of schools. You might have heard me mention that my grandson's elementary school, there were ICE agents right out in front of that. We believe that it's because they thought it was a graduation that was taking place. And the violent criminals that they detained were 2 street vendors selling food.
We're going across the trigger. You can say your name and your outlet.
Thompson, ProPublica and PBS Frontline. At 5:52 a.m. this morning, the
Yes,
level
yes.
criminal arrest.
Yeah.
Are you aware of that?
No.
Do you expect that to continue?
No, but thank you for raising that, because I think what that could indicate is an expansion of their mission. Their mission here is supposed to be solely protecting the federal buildings. 100 National Guard or federalized National Guard are in the downtown federal building, and 100 are in the Westwood federal building. Westwood always has protests. None of them have been about this issue. I don't even know why they're there, and frankly, I don't know why the federalized National Guard is needed. But I will tell you, when I saw the federalized National Guard there this morning, it indicated to me that there might be an expansion of their mission, and I believe that is extremely dangerous. Again, all that does is provoke the community.
That's right. Mayor Bass, Doug Goldberg with LA Times. Do you see this past week as a turning point in the Trump administration? How does it compare to the last time he was president for you?
Well, for me, the last time he was president, I was in Washington, D.C., and a lot of these ideas were lifted then. They talked about them, but they didn't implement them. So in part, and I think that's true for most of us, we heard this rhetoric before. Now we're watching it play out, and it's extremely terrifying.
Molly and then across.
Mayor, two things. First, you mentioned, oh, I'm sorry, I'm Molly with the Washington Post. Two questions. One, do we know whether Marines have actually entered the city of Los Angeles or been actually deployed out of Los Angeles? And then second, we've got this court ruling we're expecting to come down in San Francisco today. What is the significance of that for Los Angeles in
Well,
terms of the National Guard?
Well, hopefully the significance of that is the federalized National Guard will leave. Again, we have a very good relationship with our governor. If the National Guard was needed, I could have picked up the phone, called the police chief, called the sheriff, and said, please make the request, and it would not have been denied. Once again, there was no reason for that. You asked, what was the other question?
About whether the Marines have actually.
Oh, so my understanding, and you might know different, they're in Seal Beach. And by the way, the Marines who cannot arrest people, who do not do civil, in the streets, crowd control, are now being trained for that. And I think we probably all seen the pictures of the Marines being trained. And by the way, we really need to understand, it's so important to understand our history. It's not normal for the military to be deployed on the streets of cities in the United States. The military is for foreign wars, not civil unrest that's not even happening.
We're going across and then down in front.
Hi, Jay Hopper, Associated Press. Just to follow up on Molly, have you had any communication with anyone in the U.S. military about the possible deployment?
No, see, this is the thing about the military, about the federalized National Guard, about ICE. There's no communication. None of us here know how long the raids are going to go on. We all function off of rumors, and I think the latest rumor is that it's going to go on for 30 days. The rumor is the military might be here for 60 days. The bottom line is they're not needed for 30, for 20, or for 60 days. Well, what I know is that, and I don't know, do you know?
Yes.
Okay.
So, especially every day that passes, our reports and the numbers of raids increase. They also increase in front of schools. We received reports of hospitals, and so in churches. And so what I need you to understand is that each day there are multiple actions, and they're not just in the city of Los Angeles. So they'll be in Whittier, they'll be in Downey, they'll be in all adjoining cities, regional cities. Yesterday, our RAIDS Rapid Response Network did not stop receiving calls until after 7 p.m. And so there's two kinds of reports. It's the community is also very scared. So even if they are not at an enforcement site, what's happening is they're witnessing everything.
Right.
So a lot of our volunteers. Mayor, can I say something in Spanish? Because I think it's really important for... nomás un mensaje a nuestra comunidad inmigrante, a toda nuestra comunidad aquí en Los Ángeles. Lo único que sí les quiero decir es que toda esta gente que está aquí, todos son líderes cívicos de Los Ángeles, con nuestra alcaldesa, todos diciéndoles a ustedes que no están solos, que vamos a luchar con ustedes por sus familias, porque son las familias de Los Ángeles, y que estamos dispuestos a seguir luchando con todo, con todas nuestras capacidades, para que la inmigración, para que estas redadas paren. Muchas gracias.
Claro.
Oh, sure, sure.
Father, many parishioners from all the Catholic churches are asking their pastors if they can go to Mass on Sunday. And there are some groups, Catholic groups in different dioceses, Diocese of Orange, for example, they already canceled their community events. What is the message for the Catholics to take action or to stay in silence?
Yeah, thank you. It's a good question because there is a lot of fear. A lot of people aren't showing up for work. They're not showing up for school. They're not showing up at church. And what I would say is I don't know of any specific decision, at least in the Diocese of Los Angeles, to advise around that. But one thing, I've responded to many of these raid incidences in East LA. And one thing that sometimes I get the response is, well, did it happen at the parish? And what they mean is the church building. And I just like to remind everybody that a parish community is actually the whole neighborhood. And so I would call on religious leaders and parish communities to surround their churches and to surround their communities with the same kind of support. So when we, in any place, you can ask for extra presence that might help people feel safe, or you might make a decision to cancel the events that you have if it seems like people aren't safe or there's an active threat to them. So that's what I would say. I think it's a call on all of us to make sure that those places are safe, whether we are members of that congregation or not, that the congregation is really mixed in like all of our brothers and sisters within the whole community.
And my question it is because they already went
Right.
to churches
In
the city of
Downey.
Downey.
Right.
They
That's right.
arrested an old man
Right.
who was seated on the parking lot.
That's right.
Okay, if they already touch one single church,
Right.
even if it's not Catholic, nobody's safe.
That's right, yeah. I mean, what our community has said again and again is that they just feel hunted and they feel kidnapped. They feel sequestered, right? And they're hunting people, and that might end up in a church parking lot. They might end up in another parking lot. But we also know that organizations are receiving specific letters that seem to threaten them. At our church, we haven't received one of those letters yet, but you know, you never know what's going to happen. I think that that's what we need to be prepared for. Yeah.
We're going to go down in front and then end with Dave's answer.
Let me just say before we do that, you know, a couple of the other impacts. Thank you for mentioning the church, because that was a grandfather that was dropping off his granddaughter. But some of the other impacts, when people are detained, and Angelica, you will correct me if I'm wrong, you've been doing this for years and years. In the past, people have had access to legal counsel. People have had access to families. So when the priest says that people feel kidnapped, you do feel kidnapped if you don't know where your relative is. If you showed up to work because a raid was happening and you watched your mother, your father, your sister, or your brother being carted off and you don't know where they went, that creates a sense of panic. So one of the consequences of this is people being afraid to leave their homes, and then they don't want to go to the grocery store to get food. So we were talking this morning about, in solidarity, finding out who those people are and delivering food to them. That is a shame that we are even having this conversation. Go ahead, Zach.
Down in front.
Dolores Quintana, the Santa Monica Mirror. There's been a lot of talk about protests and violence and all that, but there is an issue with the LAPD who have been firing on peaceful protesters from point blank range. And they've also been deliberately firing bullets at rubber bullets or other types of so-called less lethal munitions at reporters. The Australian reporters were killed playing on camera. I know people who have concussions and wounds in their heads. And a New York Post reporter was shot in the head. I think that something is not right here. And there's violence from the federal source, but all of this violence is not, it cannot be put on protesters. Protesters
Right.
are out there to
Well.
protect immigrants.
Well, I'm sorry, and I might feel differently than other people here. I would draw a distinction between the people who are vandalizing buildings and who are, breaking in and looting. But let me just say that I have heard a number of accusations about the LAPD, and you can be sure that we will do an evaluation of all of it. Because one thing about our city, like a lot of other cities, just about everything is videotaped, including law enforcement and including people who are protesting. So I would draw a distinction between people who are peacefully protesting. So there will be an evaluation and an investigation into everything that happened, including the conduct of the police department. Right. Sure. Sure. Well, let me just tell you, prior to Friday, many city departments that interface with the public have been given the information, know your rights, the typical information that is passed out by immigrant rights organizations and the city. Now, having said that, we need to really ramp up. I will tell you, though, that this has been happening so fast that we absolutely need to do that, because I can also imagine people fleeing into these buildings for protection. But I also don't want to misrepresent the power of the city as well. It's important that people understand that the federal government is more powerful than the city or the state. And a lot of questions have come up about, why can't you just stop this? Trust me, if I could, I would. But we have to be careful, because we also don't want to invite the federal government in to press charges against a lot of people unnecessarily. So let me just say thank you all for showing up, and I just can't thank all of you enough, because you are showing who our city is. You are showing that our city is going to be united, and you are showing that we are not going to allow this administration or any other administration to divide us and to have us in conflict with each other, because we are LA. Thank you.
Yeah.
Families are sacred. 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 Families are sacred.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Fuego!